Our story begins with a little girl walking holding her toy in her hands. At the end of her journey, she comes to some house. In the window, we are shown a married couple who sat down to dinner. The wife asks her husband to quickly finish his food because it's already quite late, but he calms her down and says that they turned off the lights for just a little while. Since all sorts of evil spirits appeared in the city, they have never had a normal dinner and she wants those wonderful times to return. Suddenly there was a knock on the door, and the woman was surprised that someone had come at such a late hour. Looking through the peephole, she saw a little girl with a note nailed to her head. The husband thought that this child was lost, and it was impossible for the girl to walk alone at such a late hour. They decided to let her out to spend the night. At first, the woman did not want to do this, but out of a feeling of pity, she still turns the door handle. She shouldn't have done this because at that very second, the girl's eyes changed and she attacked the lady like a wild animal. It's already morning, and the film crew is reporting that for several days now, monsters have been attacking the residents of this multi-story building. The bodies of the two dead were taken out of the house, and the bracelet that the woman was wearing on her hand was cracked. The police ask not to leave your home at night, and if they notice something strange, immediately seek help. The action moves to a local home for especially gifted children, where they practice their skills as shinobi from Konoha. The boy who is wrapped in a blanket reports on his slipper that his name is Dun Dun Wo, and he has arrived to protect the peace of earthly inhabitants. Someone shouts into his slipper that currently planet Earth is in danger and has been attacked by unknown creatures, but he epically unbuttons his shirt like Superman and says that he is a real superhero and should start acting as soon as possible. Suddenly, he jumps out of the sofa and lands in a superhero pose. The orderlies who were watching them were simply shocked by the boy's action. The nurse asks Chen to Joe didn't run away while watching TV. He tries to warn that he needs help, but no one answers his slippers, and the boy understands that, as always, he will have to act alone. The boy knows that if he does not gather all his strength into a fist, humanity will be destroyed. And like a true superhero, he opens the doors and is going to fly away from here like Superman. But of course he doesn't have superpowers, and all he can do is wipe the asphalt with his face. Everyone who was playing in the yard at this time thinks that a party has begun, but our main character is clearly not in the mood for fun right now. Evening had already come, and the boy was lying in the first aid station covered in bandages and scratches. Suddenly he wakes up and strikes in the air, who even dared to knock out the legendary defender of planet Earth. Someone said that no one knocked him out, and our hero thought that it was the fat man who decided to laugh at his incredible strength. But suddenly some unprecedented thing leaves the boy's body, and it was she who was talking to our hero all this time. It turns out that the guy had the great honor of being the assistant of the great ghost and becoming the chosen one. Apparently he did a lot of good in his past life. For strange reasons, the ghost lost his body and needed a person with a powerful mental aura to recover. And so he met our blonde. He has powerful spiritual energy, and the ghost chooses him as his personal servant. Of course, the ghost will not use the person for free. He will receive the power to resist evil spirits, but it seems our hero does not listen to him. Suddenly, he takes out his slippers and hits the ghost, telling him not to let this annoying mosquito interfere with him absorbing the energy of the moon. The ghost clearly doesn't like this. How can this non-entity refuse such a great honor as becoming his personal slave? But suddenly, the flying ball hears some strange sounds. Something is going badly for someone. There is a terribly loud scream from the next room. Apparently, again, someone decided to start repairs at 3 in the morning. The fat man asks our hero not to push. He also wants to see who there is so badly wanting to repeat the songs of Lana Del Rey. Suddenly, we are shown some kind of thing that is slowly crawling through the ventilation. Her face was similar to the face of the Lich from the cartoon Adventure Time. Our guys in a stupor cannot understand what kind of nonsense this is. Has a new girl really come to their hospital? She is somehow too strange. The ghost says that this is the soul of a drowned woman who died in cold waters. At midnight, all the restless souls go hunting and she wants to devour them. The guys ask this new girl why the hell she decided to go wild in the middle of the night. Now it's their quiet time. Didn't the nurse warn her? Suddenly this thing starts attacking them, and our ghost screams for the guys to close the door and dodge it. But she turns out to be not as simple as it seems at first glance, and simply goes through the door and through. Our hero understands that the matter smells of frying because this creature is really going to finish them off. The dead soul attacks our hero, but he takes off his slippers and is going to take revenge for the fact that she stained his bed. Tomorrow our boy will be on duty, and it will be he who will have to clean up all the trash that she made, and he hits her with a slipper right in the face. The power of the slipper turns out to be enormous, and the lady flies off into the corridor. The boy doesn't care whether she's new or not. If she came to their hospital, then let her be kind enough to obey the established rules. The girl gets up again and our hero is terribly angry. He is going to teach this fool a lesson so that she will be obedient like a tame puppy. He puts on the face of a real Sigma and orders this woman to immediately wipe the floor that she has dirty. The lady is already shaking in fear and does not know how to fight this abnormal person. Apparently, his psychosis is much stronger than otherworldly forces. It turns out that all this time our hero was being watched by a camera, and everyone was amazed that he defeated the restless soul with his heads and hands. Since the ghost is now completely subordinate to his will, the fat man tells Churchwo to look at his dirty socks, and our hero agrees. This guy's name is Joe Aiguo, and he is the head of the department. It seems he burst into tears because he found such a gifted guy. He decided that tomorrow morning they would go to a psychiatric hospital. He simply could not miss such a talented boy. And now the guy had already arrived at the hospital where our main character was lying. He was trying to arrange with the doctor about a personal meeting with this patient. The head doctor's name is Lee Qingshan. Of course they can see the boy, but soon they will find out for themselves why it is better not to do this. The chief doctor warns that the man is dressed in a police uniform and may thereby frighten the boy, and he will begin to feel strange. Lee Qingshan asks Mr. Policeman to go to the boy's room. When they see our hero, they are very surprised that this slacker managed to defeat the second-level ghost with his own hands. The chief doctor is trying to wake up the boy because the police officers urgently need him, but it seems that our hero is already seeing his seventh dream. But the policeman still admires the fact that the boy can defeat ghosts and hopes that he is exactly the one he has been looking for so long. Suddenly our boy wakes up and begins to fight with the doctor, since yesterday a strange voice has been heard in his head, and he thinks that this is the work of the doctor. Now the police themselves see how difficult it is with these patients. He probably didn't even understand when yesterday he encountered the ghost of a drowned woman. One of the girls thinks that the guy has a split personality and only becomes strong when he comes to his senses. But the second one thinks that she watches too much anime. The lady comes up to our hero and says that she is from the police department for fighting ghosts. Does he remember what happened last night? Our boy clearly heard everything the girl said, but could not answer her even a single word because she was an incredible beauty. But suddenly our ghost friend activated and decided to check on the girl. She had too much contact with the cursed energy, and now she has a breast disease. The boy suddenly shouts out that something is wrong with the girl and is going to conduct an examination like a doctor. But she just jumps aside and says the kid is too weird. What the hell is he even doing? The chief doctor grabs the guy by the shirt and asks for forgiveness from the police. For him, there is not much difference between guys and girls. That's the kind of person he is. The police officer abruptly joins the conversation and cannot understand what the hell is going on here. Is this guy really just an ordinary psychopath who accidentally defeated a level 2 ghost? Leaving the hospital, he decides to ask the head doctor, Lee, if he noticed anything strange about the boy. But in principle, they have no normal children in the hospital. Each of them has some kind of strangeness or disorder. The doctor tells him that the boy is constantly running around the hospital with slippers in the shape of a telephone and shouting that he will protect him from aliens. The action moves to the canteen. The police officer thinks that all the work was in vain, but still wants to stay and watch this talented guy. Suddenly, our hero again burst out that his favorite meat was prepared in the canteen and asks the headquarters to bring him even more food. The ghost realized that the guy was really completely crazy, but now there is another problem. The ghost of the drowned woman will return today and attack them again. He takes out his Harry Potter wand and summons a talisman that drives out evil ghosts. The guy is clearly shocked by such special effects. Because of the talisman, a piece of meat falls from his head and he panics. At this moment, the ghost realizes how difficult it is to work with idiots. He rolls up the gifted talisman like a roll of toilet paper and throws it straight into the police officer's soup. One of them gets up and begins to loudly catch and look for the one who did it, but the boss tells him not to make a mountain out of a molehill after all. They are in a home for sick children. The boss says that the ghost of the drowned woman does not feel pain, and therefore Chenjuo didn't do much damage to her. They'll ambush her tonight and catch her. This guy clearly likes this idea and asks you to rely on him in this mission, but the lady doesn't seem to like this idea. It's time to prepare for the capture, and the boss asks his assistants to be careful with the equipment. This healthy box will be tediously placed at the entrance, and they need to move because they have very little time left. Meanwhile, Chenjuo, as always, creates chaos and, having decided that it's summer, decides to take a little swim. The nurse tries to calm him down, but the guy is having too much fun lying on the grass, imagining that it's a swimming pool. Suddenly, the fat man picks up a sweaty sock from the floor and decides to smell it, no matter how strange it may look. The chief of police notices this, and what he sees makes him shiver. Everyone in this hospital has really gone crazy. But he is clearly not going to give up. His path to promotion is thorny and long. Time passed, night came, and the ghost of the drowned woman again appeared on the threshold of the mental hospital. But this time, the spotlights did not illuminate. After looking at the cameras, they realized that the girl had not come alone and brought her partner to her aid. The chief of police begins to shake because he realized that before his eyes is one of the 10 most dangerous ghosts of the city, a drowned man. The barrier of sunlight will not help against him. He gives the order to bring reinforcements, and the second group must protect Chenjuo. He blames himself because he was too naive. He was going to invite our hero to celebrate the search for the ghost of a drowned woman, but now the situation has changed. The policeman asks Chenjuo, apologizes, and prays that the boy remains safe. Only after stepping on the border of the barrier of light, the body of the drowned girl begins to melt, and her partner does not understand what kind of nonsense this is. Suddenly, he starts creating a tailed beast bomb from the anime Naruto. Then he shoots it, and all the spotlights were destroyed in an instant. Meanwhile, ghosts were already wandering along the hospital corridor in search of their prey. Wydro sat in his room like an obedient boy and meditated. Feeling the approach of evil spirits, he makes a satisfied face and says that finally these damn creatures have appeared. Suddenly, the door explodes in front of our hero's face. 2 evil swamp creatures crawl out of it and came for his soul. Without hesitation for a second, he begins to run towards them like a true superhero. He looks out into the corridor and looks for his partners from another planet. The main headquarters announced that today they will send people to pick him up from this planet. The strongest ghosts, in complete shock, do not understand why this little guy ignores their presence. He quickly grabs his slipper and tries to contact the main headquarters, which did not send reinforcements. This raises even more questions for the ghosts. Out of anger, he throws out his shoes and thinks that these creatures did something to his comrades on the way to this planet. Our little ghost comes out and doesn't understand why the hell this kid is getting into a fight with ghosts again. The drowned man is tired of this whole circus, and he decides to scatter his aura throughout the room and finish off the boy as quickly as possible. Our little ghost protects the hero from attacks by creating a barrier. No Chenjo just swears at him, saying that he ruined everything again. Suddenly, police officers appear and begin to shoot at these evil creatures. Over the radio, the head informs them that this ghost is much stronger than the ghost of the drowned woman, and they need to be careful to save Chenjuo. The policeman reports that there are no losses on their part. They have arrived at the scene and are already waiting for further instructions. But the ghost of the drowned man really turns out to be not so simple, and simply begins to fire at the police with his aura. The guy thinks that the end has already come for him, because it is simply impossible to dodge such an attack. But suddenly help appears with shields and saves him. An arrest must be made immediately. This drowned man's aura can decompose anything like acid. They need to be careful not to fall under his attacks. Suddenly, he makes a huge number of attacks with his aura, and all the guys with shields fly off in different directions. The almost completely perfect squad asks their captain to be careful. Meanwhile, the boy was left alone with the ghost of the drowned woman, and our hero was clearly upset about something. His only means of communication with the command post was destroyed by the acid of that ugly ghost. How can he now call for reinforcements and leave this damned planet? Suddenly, he turns on his superpowers and says that he will kill all these damn creatures. Our little ghost understands that now it will be hot and boring to increase the strength of its carrier to the maximum. The boy jumps on the ghost of the drowned man and creates a technique, the fist of the scarlet flame of the golden master. In a split second, the ghost gains second cosmic speed and flies off into the stratosphere. He clearly doesn't intend to stop there and accumulates aura in his leg by doing a move called the Buddha Power Kick. And now our main character finally took revenge for damaging his slippers, that is, the phone for contacting the command point. Chenjo takes out the very talisman that expels evil spirits and wants to use it for its intended purpose. The drowned man kneels in front of him and begins to apologize. This surprises our hero a little. Can ghosts really feel guilt? But it's too late. This creature has done too much bad, and there will be only one punishment for him: death. The first enemy was exposed, but there was still one small infection left that was involved in this crime. Our ghost congratulates us on our first kill, and soon we will receive a random reward, but it seems that Chenjo has no time for that now. The ghost of the drowned woman crawled into the corner and shook with fear because her strong partner was no longer with her. But instead of finishing her off, he starts running all over the hospital and panicking because he has lost his only means of communication and will not be able to return to his planet. All this time, the police captain was watching what was happening and was simply shocked that our boy looked like a Marvel superhero. The next day, in the chief doctor's office, he was already shouting that he was going to take the boy out of the hospital and start training him. But unfortunately, the doctor refuses the policeman's request. He simply cannot allow this to happen. As the chief physician, he is obliged to take care of the safety of his patients. Yesterday, something terrible happened. The entire ward was destroyed and the children were scared to death. The police captain understands that this old man is not so easy to convince, but the chief doctor says that he will soon be transferred to new wards. The guys walked around the yard and shared their impressions of the ghost attack. They were all bald because of that acidic aura of the drowned ghost. Their heads looked like chicken eggs, but one of the boys still had a whole eyebrow. The captain understands the chief doctor's worries about the children, but he must also understand him. The department with more ghosts simply needs a talent like Chenjuo. The policeman begins to sob and complain about his terrible life and management, and the chief doctor tries to calm him down. He gets hysterical and says that even though not everything is all right with our main character, he is incredibly strong and can help them save civilians. Suddenly, a policeman bursts into the office with a broken arm and is shocked by the picture he sees. He informs the boss that trouble has happened again. An emergency has occurred in the southern region again. There was an awkward pause in the room due to the strange actions of the police chief. He quickly pulls himself together and asks what happened and where. It is highly likely that a family of 7 will be murdered in the southern region tonight. The captain doesn't understand where they got this information from, but the dude points to a strange girl who was a killer. Tonight, she will definitely appear again. The action moves to the courtyard where the police chief was sitting on a bench, depressed. The guy with blue hair was very interested in why the hell he was sitting here and doing nothing, because night would soon fall. He remembers the doctor's words. He agreed to give the boy away, but everything is not so simple. He is mentally ill and may not agree to go with them. Other police officers tried to bribe him with sweets and a police uniform that would make him look cool. But for him, it was like a game. Our main character has repaired his slippers and is trying to contact the headquarters. It seems to him that stupid people are spying on him. The captain is already desperate because at this rate they won't be able to catch him, and the blue-haired guy shouts for the boy to calm down immediately. They don't have much time left, so the main character must listen to him very carefully. He puts his finger out like a gun and is going to threaten this guy. The guy with blue hair raises both arms, even the one he broke, and experiences terrible pain from this. Our main character is going to find out all the information from this idiot, who the hell sent him to get close to him. But suddenly Chenjuo starts laughing at this guy because he is literally shaking with fear, but he denies everything. The chief of police made a decision. First, they would drag the boy to the southern district, and there they would sort everything out. A whole squad of policemen attacks this psychopath to contain his incredible power of madness. Chenjuo thinks that they finally showed their true colors and decided to attack him with the whole crowd. Our hero is being carried tied to a stick like a kebab. He is clearly not going to calm down. Where are these freaks even taking him? One of the policemen takes our psycho into the room and carefully puts him on the ground. At that very second, he begins to threaten these guys to let him go. Do they even know who he is? But suddenly the police captain calls out the codename of our main character. At that same second, the guy's face changes and he becomes terrified of this policeman. But he gets into an epic pose and says that he is his partner, who also arrived from another planet, and his codename is Dundongchi. Our ghost appears and begins to untie the boy from the ropes. Suddenly, Chenjuo gets up and starts talking nonsense in an alien language. Maybe this is a greeting or a secret password. Before they left the hospital, the head doctor warned him that he was making up all kinds of nonsense as he went along, which meant that there was no right answer. The captain decides to improvise a little and find out a random salute like in the army. Maybe it will work. There was an awkward pause in the room and our main character wondered what to do next. But he simply extends his fist in front of him and greets his fellow man. He has finally managed to find a connection with his planet. The captain was incredibly glad that this fool actually believed in this nonsense. They both beat their fists and are happy that they both managed to achieve their goal. The captain reports that for Chenjuo has a special task. The inhabitants of the planet are in danger, and he will have to kill all the damn ghosts. Our hero salutes with joy and says that he will definitely carry out any order from the captain. A guy with blue hair runs into the office and says that they managed to detect traces of negative energy. Most likely, this is a killer girl. The captain leaves his office to determine the exact location where the ghost girl is hiding. Chenjuo decided to observe how the senior in rank works. It's simply incredible that he leads stupid people and is undercover. But suddenly, the attention of our psycho was attracted by a strange figure on the table. While the boy was looking at the figure, the captain said that the killer girl had a lot of victims and therefore safety came first. The main goal for today is to determine the level of negative energy of this ghost. I'm afraid that its strength has long surpassed all their capabilities. The boy was still making a fool of himself, while the adults were deciding very important issues. As soon as they returned, they would need to report on the suppression of evil spirits. But suddenly our ghost appears again and tells Chenjuo stopped acting like a dumbass because danger was very close. All the police officers panicked because the source of negative energy suddenly began to approach. But our main character thought that it was the chief doctor who had come for him. Chenjuo rarely gets up and walks towards the unprecedented energy and says that he will never give in to this evil old doctor. But when he opened the door, before his eyes there was only a little girl who looked extremely harmless. But the ghost clearly didn't buy the fact that the girl looked very cute. She already had 17 victims and her negative energy was simply prohibitive. We needed to finish her off quickly. And our main character, as always, behaves frivolously and begins to ask the evil ghost if she has seen an evil old man in a white coat.
The girl was a little perplexed, but still shook her head to the side.
Chenjo asks her to think carefully before answering, but she once again replies that she didn't see anyone on the way here. Our hero thinks that the ghost who wants to help him is an enemy in his head, and therefore he trusts the girl. This makes our ghost assistant very angry. Suddenly, the girl hands the guy a teddy bear and asks him to play with her a little. The bear clearly looked not like it came from a beauty salon, but as if it had been field tested as a weapon in CSGO. From what he saw, the guy's face became distorted and he began to look like dried grapes. Without thinking, he simply hits the bear, saying that he looks just terrible, and the bear flies far down the corridor. This clearly angers the girl because it was her favorite toy. But the main character simply takes her hand and asks her to come inside the house. Now ghosts are walking outside and it's not safe here. The police officers clearly did not hope for such an outcome, and, watching everything on cameras, saw a guy walking with a ghost and asking to feel at home. He says that plush toys suck and are generally a thing of the past, and now he will show her something really interesting. Suddenly, he takes out from his pocket a figurine of a ballerina that he stole from this house and shows it to the girl. Chenjo sat down with the girl on the sofa, and they began to watch the ballerina spin while the police appeared in the corner and were trembling with fear. The boy wanted to close the curtains to see if the ballerina could glow, but the girl simply snapped her fingers and said that there was no need to do this. Our hero praises the little girl's special abilities and says that he also has superpowers. He can become invisible. The girl said that the boy was a real liar and did not have such an ability, but he decided to prove her wrong. After which he begins to rush around the room like a crazy person who has been thrown a blanket over him and says that he is an invisible man. But the girl is clearly tired of this stupid game, and she says that she clearly sees this idiot. Chenjo is a little embarrassed that his ability did not work, and he is thinking about how he can change the situation. Suddenly the police come into the room and our hero asks if they see him. Of course they played along with his madness and said no. All the police were afraid to move because they had a special level ghost sitting on their sofa. All they could do was just sit and watch. Suddenly he grabs the girl and starts poking her right at the police chief to prove that he really can become invisible. At one point, the police were not contained and began screaming like little girls. The girl's appearance changed dramatically, and she became an incredibly frightening ghost. The captain lost consciousness from what he saw, and his partner tried to bring him back to consciousness. Chenjo began to carry the girl in his arms and rejoice because their super trick worked. But suddenly the main character notices that iron nails are sticking out of the girl's body and asks her about them. She tells him what her curse is. In addition, there are 5 more wooden nails on her body. The boy gets angry and promises that he will definitely punish those freaks who did this to her, but the girl says that her parents did it, and they are already dead. Chenjo finds this very creepy. Our hero wants to help the girl get these nails because she is experiencing incredible pain, but she says that it is impossible to pull them out. But the boy says that nothing is impossible for him and is going to try to do it. The police chief just woke up and doesn't understand what the hell this kid is doing next to the ghost of a killer girl. He loses consciousness again, and our hero tries to get these damn nails, but he can't. The girl said that it's impossible, but our hero is clearly not going to leave it like this and asks the girl to lie down on the floor. The girl is clearly not comfortable on the floor. Suddenly a ghost appears and says that these nails are buried deep in her soul. He is clearly not going to help him pull them out. This is a barter of 5 elements that is done directly on the heart, and yet our ghost orders that the gates that hold the girl open. And suddenly a nail comes out of the girl's heart, covering our hero with a strange red aura. The girl activated her abilities and threw our hero several meters away. The boy thinks that something is wrong with the girl and asks if everything is okay with her. But at that very second, she attacks him with her claws and a terrible aura. But he just grabs her hand and says that she needs to keep pulling out these nails. One by one, they, together with the ghost, pulled out the nails, thereby destroying the gate of the 5 elements. It was clearly difficult for our hero to pronounce long spells. Suddenly, the ghost screams for the guy not to touch the nail that sticks out of her head, because that's where the Heavenly Palace is located, and it can be dangerous. But our hero could no longer be stopped, and the ghost began to read a spell to pull this damn nail out of the Heavenly Palace and throw it away. The police, meanwhile, decided to hug the objects that were closest to them and wait for this whole nightmare to end. Now that the seal of the 5 elements was removed, the girl instantly began to evolve into the demon gender. The police began to be thrown in different directions. They urgently needed to protect our main character because all the sensors were broken from a large amount of energy. But Chenjo, as always, decided to turn on the fool mode, and it turns out that he is a bird. Having lost control of this plane, Mr. Beast flies out the window and the police chief does not have time to catch him. It turns out that this damn plane still doesn't know how to land and is now in a state of uncontrollable fall. But suddenly that ghost girl appears and catches our hero with her aura. She brings him back to the police safe and sound. The captain was very worried about the condition of our hero, but Chenjo wanted to brag more that he had just flown. But suddenly his face changes dramatically, and some strange aura passes through him. A little cherry juice begins to flow out of his hand, and he thinks that he will soon die. But the captain was more scared because he thought that he had a mortal wound. Suddenly the girl begins to tell stories that her grandmother once told her. If suddenly an evil spirit wants to be with a person, and at the same time causes him harm with his negative energy, in this case it would be possible to conclude a ghost contract, but our hero was now more worried about his cut finger. With tears in his eyes, he begins to yell at this fool, because it was she who injured his beautiful finger. In gratitude for the fact that the boy saved her from the curse of the 5 elements, she agrees to enter into a contract with the man and become his guide. Our ghost is very happy about this, because the girl agreed to enter into a contract with this oaf absolutely free of charge. Touching her forehead, the whole room begins to glow with a red-blue light. And in one moment, the girl turns from an ugly ghost into a very pretty girl. Our main character clearly likes this arrangement. The ghost tells the boy not to be like a little girl. Now he will heal his incredibly deep wounds. As soon as his scratch went away, he began to run and rejoice, and the girl turned to the police. Bai Chenjuo was playing the fool. The ghost girl bowed her head in front of the police and began to cast a spell. He was clearly happy because he thought that he had become a superhero with instant regeneration. But suddenly an evil aura appeared from his back. It turns out that the ghost girl simply thanked them for saving her and disappeared. Can this be considered a successful completion of the mission? All the police started running around our hero and doing various poses from the anime JoJo because he was incredibly cool in this battle. The captain cries with pride. He didn't think that even after defeating 2 strong ghosts, he would be able to defeat the ghost girl. He is his savior. For reference, I'll tell you that after the ghosts of evil spirits appeared, they began to be divided into different levels. Their department can so far only cope with the weakest. They could only cope with weak ghosts and transferred the stronger ones to a special department, but now a new superhero appeared on their team. The actions are transferred to the office where the captain speaks on the phone so that his requests for help are canceled. Now they don't need their help. Finally, he angrily hangs up the phone and says that all their support should go to hell. Now they have their own ghost-killing machine. He was clearly happy that after so many years of working in this department, he was finally able to express everything he thought about these freaks from the special department. The captain put his career ladder on our main character, and meanwhile he is fast asleep on his sofa. Bento on the table that began to smell throughout the boss's entire room. Smelling this incredible aroma, the boy instantly wakes up. He was about to enjoy his food, but he found some kind of damned note. He even jumps with joy because now he is finally recognized as a brave warrior defender of this damn planet. The boy received incredible pleasure from this food, and the note contained a letter from the main headquarters telling the boy to eat, and that they were proud of his achievements. The action moves to the office where the girl received calls from civilians. The anti-ghost department is already in touch. While the girl was trying to figure out the person's problem, our main character sneaked up on her unnoticed and wanted to steal a bottle of soda. He makes a very pitiful face and says that now he's just dying of thirst. Can he take this? She didn't understand where this crazy guy came from and decided that if she gave him the soda, he'd just leave. But suddenly the guy gets up and says that he won't take this bottle for free. He will draw a special protective talisman for the girl. He proudly declares that the girl should be grateful to him because this talisman will protect her entire family. The entire department was watching this psycho. Another policeman also wants to get such a talisman, but when he sees that the guy drew a fish with bubbles there, he calls it simply abnormal. Who wants to sell out of line and makes the excuse that he needs to go on an important task soon? The queue is clearly not happy with the fact that some idiot is jumping the queue. Here, in general, everyone has their own important things to do. The captain notices all this chaos and tries to understand what the hell is going on there. We are shown a boy who was surrounded by a bunch of different tasty things from the cafeteria and didn't know why he needed them. All the police officers came to our hero with offerings as if to some deity and begged him to draw protection talismans for them. It turns out that they sold out all the products that were in the nearest supermarkets, and now the whole area was left without products. They were a little unhappy with the fact that all the mascots looked different, but one guy actually had different figures drawn. The captain enters the room and coughs loudly to attract attention. Everyone gets scared and tries to explain what is happening here, and some even want to leave the crime scene. The bald dude is just our hero drawing as many characters as possible. Does he really doubt his ghostly abilities? The captain approaches this dude from behind and asks what the hell is he doing here. He quickly kicks all the police out of the boys' room and tells them to run to work and not suffer from nonsense. but it turns out he did this specifically so that our main character would draw more protective talismans for him. Chenjo sits in the pose of a mafia boss and shows the boss his offerings. The captain says that he was in too much of a hurry and didn't have time to buy sweets for him, but in return he gives him money so he can buy a lot of delicious food with it. Our hero says that he did not expect anything different from his colleague and asks him to take some sweets from the table. Today he is serving them. He diligently begins to draw talismans and tells the boss to eat all the sweets because he doesn't really like them. But he says that he himself doesn't like sweets, so it's better to let our hero eat everything himself. Chenjo tells him to take his talisman, and the police chief is surprised that it is incredibly big. But the policeman forgot to tell him one more small thing. There is a serial killer operating on the Eastern Bridge, and the main headquarters ordered the two of them to deal with him. Chenjo immediately salutes and says that he will immediately carry out the orders of headquarters. Night falls and the action moves to the Eastern Bridge. For several nights in a row, people have been dying here and the police cannot identify the culprit or are paranormal forces involved. This man was found here without a head. This is already the 36th murder in a month, and they urgently need to determine the identity of the killer. The chief of police is counting on our hero and asks if he has any guesses, but he does not notice anything special. Then the boss asks Chenjo carefully examine this long bridge. Without hesitation, he immediately runs across the fence and runs to investigate the murder. But halfway there, he stumbles and hits his head on the ground. The police thought it was a ghost attack and had already prepared their weapons, but the chief told them to wait. It was a false alarm. He just tripped and he asks everyone to return to their original positions. She asks if everything is okay with our boy, but cherry juice started flowing right out of his nose and he almost burst into tears. He burst into tears in front of the entire department and everyone began to calm our boy down. But suddenly our ghost appears and says that danger is approaching. Cloud of black smoke with evil eyes appears behind our heroes. The ghost is still yelling that danger is coming and the little girl must appear and protect him. Suddenly a powerful aura bursts out of our hero's body and that ghost girl came out to fight for them. All the policemen were frightened by the appearance of the killer girl and began to run headlong. But they saw another ominous aura and realized that the company of the ghost girl was not so bad. It was a ghost with the face of an animal, when the police saw how huge it was but simply hid behind the little girl. Our ghost tells us that this is the middle stage of a half-demon, the spirit of a tiger. He hunts for prey, tracking it by the smell of cherry juice. Apparently it was the cherry juice from our hero's nose that attracted him here. This ghost killed a bunch of people and created his new ghostly claws, incredibly powerful. Our ghost says that the girl will not be able to cope with him, but decides to try anyway. She makes a lasso out of her aura and wraps it around the tiger ghost's neck. She tried to take him on a leash, but he was too strong for her and simply tore her aura. Our girl has 17 kills to her name. While the ghost tiger has more than 100, she is definitely not his rival. If we assume that he will now kill all the police, then he will already kill 250 people, and everyone suddenly wanted to run home to mommy. The tiger ghost swings his paw and is about to kill all the employees. The guy with blue hair remembers that a few years ago, a tiger escaped from the zoo and was killed on this bridge. He urgently needs to be reported to the special department. But this beast is clearly not going to just watch them come up with a plan and hit them with its paws. All the policemen were surprised because there was not a single scratch on them and some strange drawings were flying around. It turns out that the protective talismans that our main character made actually work, although they look very strange. The tiger ghost is a little confused that his attack didn't hit them, but he's happy to hit them a few more times. The police captain is trying to cheer up his comrades because as long as they have this magical barrier, their lives are safe. All the employees started screaming and showing their mascots with strange children's drawings. They will definitely win if they can hold out and everyone returns home. They poked the tiger with protective talismans and tried to intimidate him, but this did not particularly bother him. Suddenly a hand appears in front of the beast's head and does Gojo's move Satoru, who must destroy him. But no, our main character simply hits him on the forehead with his finger to calm him down a little. All the police were a little shocked that the boy decided to hit the powerful ghost so recklessly. The police chief also didn't understand what the hell this kid was doing. It was very brazen to punch the ghost in the face and he clearly got angry, after which he growled and threw everyone away from him. Our ghost says that the matter smells of frying. The ghost of the tiger is angry and its strength has increased 3 times. We need to quickly get out of here. The police officers saw that the ghost had almost destroyed the barrier and they needed to run away from here. They asked that Chenjo did not lag behind them, but as always he managed to stumble out of the blue. The ghost of the tiger decided to take advantage of such moments and finish off this bastard who hit him in the face. The police captain thought that the boy was already finished and would need to look for a new special warrior, but suddenly a dark magical aura appeared. It was our ghost girl who was trying to hold back this damned beast so that the others will run away. She screams at this big kitten so that he doesn't dare eat her owner. After which she lifts him into the air and throws him out as if he were a toy. The girl says that he can eat the police. Meanwhile, the police are shocked by the body of a huge ghost tiger flying towards them. Chenjo is already tired of sitting on the sidelines, and he wants to deal with this overgrown cat. Our hero approaches him and pulls out a piece of fur, saying that now it will become his personal mount and will help him in battles. But the ghost tries to warn him that this is a tiger and not a cat, and you can't just tear out its fur, they obviously don't like it. Suddenly, the ghost of a tiger rises and switches to our hero. Our little ghost thinks that now Chen. That has definitely come to an end. A small ghost tries to pull our hero away from the clutches of this beast and helps him dodge attacks. Finally, our hero got angry. He just wanted to tame this animal and give him a home. But if the tiger wants to devour him, he will have no mercy. Our ghost decides that since the hero has gained such courage, he needs to increase the strength of his fists several thousand times. And at that very second, Chenjuo punches Saitama right in the damn tiger's teeth. The tiger ghost immediately becomes an obedient kitten and even begins to meow. But our main character still hasn't dealt with him and, jumping up, is about to strike another blow at this cat. Kujo's stand. He begins to hit Jotaro with Star Platinum and knocks everything he can out of the cat. Previously, the police looked at the boy as if he was sick, but now they understand that he is a damn psycho who can destroy ghosts. The tiger clearly no longer resisted and simply accepted all the blows that our main character makes. He raises a white flag and says that he is not going to fight anymore. Chenwood is happy because he thinks that if the cat gave up, then he learned a new skill for taming animals. Our hero asks the girl to come up and meet the new family member. Now they will have their own tame cat that follows commands. But they were both a little shocked when they realized that the ghost cat could fly. The guy with blue hair began to think that Chenjuo simply decided to escape from them with the help of this tiger. The police captain himself sees this perfectly well and gives the order to catch up with them. But how are they supposed to catch the flying ghost? But the captain absolutely doesn't care how they do it, even if the whole city is turned upside down. But Chenjuo must return to their squad. Beast is multi-million-dollar plane, and the process of taming the beast increased. Our main character hit the tiger on the head and shouted at him to fly as quickly as possible. He decided to arrange a fun adventure for our heroes and take them for a ride at the second cosmic speed so that their faces would become distorted. 5 minutes later, this blue comet from the game Genshin Impact flew over a psychiatric hospital. Our heroes had a lot of fun today, but now Chen, it's time to go to bed. But he completely forgot that the assigned animal would need a leash so that it would not run away. He actually put a leash on him and said that from now on, he can be considered a tethered animal. The tiger clearly didn't like the fact that now he would be on this guy's leash, and the ghost girl just silently watched everything from the side. The boy tied him to the nearest post and gave him a bell around his neck. The ghost girl couldn't understand how he tied him with air and how long had she been dead. The main character scratched the tiger's nose and said that from now on, this place will be his home. While the beast is under the protection of the brave warrior Chen Shou, then no one can even touch this beast with a finger. He shakes out his hands and says that since the job is done, it's time for our hero to go to bed, and he says goodnight to his new pet. But as soon as he had to move a few meters away, the tiger decided that he could escape and flew into the air. But suddenly the leash turned from thin air into a rope that did not allow our cat to escape. All this thanks to the will of the owner of the beast. Our ghost congratulates our hero because the process of taming the mount has been finally completed. The next morning, the nurse wakes up our hero screaming and doesn't understand what the hell he's doing here, and he thinks it's time for breakfast. He went to the police station, so why did he come back? But he says that the police did not abandon him and he came of his own free will. The girl notices wounds on the guy's hand and thinks that he was bullied and beaten at the police station. But our hero almost burst into tears, but still proudly said that he just tripped and fell. The girl still thinks that while the guy is with the police, he is in danger. He will definitely tell the chief doctor everything. He will not leave it just like that. The action moves to the chief doctor's office, where he argued with the police captain. He is waiting for an explanation of how one mentally ill person was able to escape from the police. The policeman wants to tell him a story about how they fought a ghost tiger on the bridge yesterday. But the head doctor interrupts him and says that he is not going to listen to excuses. Have they really been machinations of him all night, and didn't even think that he just returned to the hospital? After a long story, the head doctor could not believe what he heard, and deathly silence reigned in the room. Meanwhile, our main character was sitting in the courtyard on a bench, singing different songs and thinking how wonderful life is. Suddenly, a ghost appears and says that they urgently need to cure his psychological disorder, but the boy seemed to ignore him. At one point, he simply cannot stand it and throws the ghost away so that it will be silent. Suddenly, a lady policeman appears, and our ghost says that the 43rd attempt at treatment ended in failure. Our hero is clearly glad to see this girl. He looked for her in the office, but she says that she was not at her workplace for a long time because she went to the hospital. The boy at first doesn't understand why she went there, but the girl says that he was right. She really has an incurable disease that Chen is talking about Zhuo told. The boy boasts of his eyesight, and the girl admits that he is truly a unique person and asks him for forgiveness for calling him crazy. But he just gets up from the bench and proudly shouts to the whole hospital that he doesn't care about the words of a dying girl. But since they are no longer at odds, the boy invites her to become friends. The girl just started crying and said that it was impossible, and our main character didn't understand what the hell was happening. The doctor told her that she had very little time left, but she didn't want to die. She just started to like police work and wants to fight evil spirits with others. True, the girl is of little use, and as a rule, others have to protect her from ghosts. Her lips begin to tremble from helplessness, and she says that she cannot protect others because she cannot even protect herself. But bursting into tears, she declares that she cannot simply accept her weakness. Our main character makes a thoughtful Saitama face and looks at the girl carefully. Chenjo says that this is not a problem for the great warrior of this planet, and the girl thinks that this psychopath will be able to cure her of a terrible disease. He says that of course he can cope with such a task and shows her a bottle of water. The boy begins to make strange shamanic movements, but our ghost says that he is not going to deceive the girl. He is an honest spirit and does not engage in fraud. The boy starts yelling at the water, and our ghost still plays along with his madness and turns it into healing water. Handing her a bottle of holy water, he says that if the girl drinks this, her health will noticeably improve. The police girl looks carefully at the bottle of water and thinks that this is the water with which in ancient times even mortal wounds were healed. The lady thought that something red flashed in the bottle for a second, but the boy told her not to think and drank the water in one gulp. A fatal disease will not go away on its own, and she simply drinks this water. But suddenly she starts coughing and choking. Apparently there was something wrong with the water. Our main character looked with enthusiasm at the girl's healing process. But the girl just made a strange face and said that there was sand in the water. It seems that she didn't feel anything special. The guy said that the girl was most likely cheating because, judging by his observations, the illness had already passed. She thanked our main character and said that she would definitely visit him as soon as she had free time. As she left, the girl wiped away her tears because she was already completely desperate. Did she really expect that this guy would cure her? He was just mentally ill. Chenjo didn't understand why the lady left and burst into tears. Was she really so glad that she drank the healing water? He just gets up and bathes in the rays of the sun, thinking that he is a real hero, because by sacrificing himself, he constantly saves people's lives. Along the way, the girl accidentally met the chief of police. It turns out that he came because of her resignation letter. Does she really think that he will accept it? The lady wanted to tell him that she would soon pass away and there was no point in working, but he interrupted her and said that he had known about this for a long time. He knows very well that due to the nature of their work with ghosts, she began to have serious health problems. From the day the evil spirits appeared, protecting the peace of ordinary citizens became their direct responsibility. And it was precisely for this reason that they fought so hard against these creatures tirelessly. The boss understands much better than others how hard the girl tried and completely devoted herself to her work. The girl completely devoted herself to serving in the police and fighting ghosts, and although now she will no longer be able to fight, the police will never leave her alone. This is why the boss is not going to accept his resignation. Their ghost police department will forever remain a family. He says that the department will consider that the girl is on vacation for a long time. If she wants, she can go somewhere or buy herself new things. The department will pay for everything. The girl clearly deserved a little rest, and let her consider this as gratitude from her boss for the best service of a talented employee. The girl says with tears in her eyes that she clearly heard the captain's order, and finally salutes him. Then he approached our main character, who was still bathing in the rays of the sun. The boss asks him to get off the bench and see what he brought him. It turns out that he brought a mobile phone for him. Our main character was simply shocked because now he received a new means of communication from this planet. It turns out that the damn chief doctor refused to take the kid to the police station, but they still need to be in touch to fight the ghosts. Chendro has probably been in this mental hospital for too long and doesn't know how to use a mobile phone at all. Then the captain will teach him. The action is transferred to a police car, where a very strange case was discussed that the ordinary police department does not want to take on. Chendro sent the captain photos of how they were playing in a mental hospital, and he thought it was strange, but after all, he was a sick child. The guy with blue hair wanted to know what bothered our captain so much, but he simply dodged the answer. Our main character constantly called him and asked to contact him because he had incredibly important information. But Chendro said that the taiga of the universe had been revealed to him and that 1 + 1 would equal 2. After such important information, the captain simply threw his phone out the window. Night fell and our main character lay in the ward all alone and could not sleep. His only interlocutor was a ghost girl. He wanted to go for a walk so badly, but he couldn't just leave the hospital grounds. But the girl simply showed the appropriate gesture and silently began to help our hero. She made a very long rope from her aura, and with the help of it, our hero was able to climb out through the window to his personal transport. With his appearance, the hero really scared the tiger, but he asked him to be quiet until the doctors realized that he had run away. And so, having saddled his faithful horse, our hero, together with his girlfriend, set off in search of adventure. Suddenly, the girl noticed a very strange man, and the boy decided to go and check him out. He decides that now it would be better to hide so that this eccentric would not notice them, but the tiger really wanted to eat. They chose the best place to hide and saw a strange man walking down the street and carrying a girl on his shoulder. No matter how strange it may be, he notices the secret hiding place of our heroes and turns in their direction. How did he manage to discover it? The dude didn't even stop at our heroes and just moved on with his important business. Chendro beat his pet because it was because of this that the stupid people discovered them, but their heads remained in the most visible place. The girl says that that guy's aura is too weak. Even people who are near death have much stronger energy. To clarify, this aura is located on people's shoulders and forehead and characterizes their vital energy. Our hero wanted to find out why the girl doesn't have such an aura, but ghosts shouldn't have it, but Chen Zhuoxi is present. At first, the boy does not understand why he does not see his own power, but the ghost helps him and activates the eyes of the heavenly eye. Our hero was afraid that this aura would kill him, but if he continued to hit his shoulders like that, he would definitely die. But the girl wanted to continue to follow that strange guy. But our hero simply grabs his entire team and says that they will definitely pursue this guy. He really wants to look at his aura. Having run after this guy, they eventually came to some temple and hid behind the wall. As soon as the doors opened, they immediately ran after this strange guy. Our hero tried to enter the temple, but the doors slammed right in his face and he simply crashed into them with his face, apparently getting very hurt. That dude went into a temple where a bunch of ghosts were sitting and waiting for him to bring them a new victim. I wonder what he brought them today. This guy resolutely declares that he has come to get even, and this time he is putting his life on the line again. But the ghosts were only amused by this guy's words. There wasn't much vital energy left in him. But he threw the girl on the floor and said that he would put her life on the line. Maybe then that would be enough. She woke up and saw phantoms standing before her eyes, looking at her angrily. She started screaming and trying to get out of the ropes, but she couldn't. The ghosts are only pleased with the new victim, and they happily agree to play with this idiot again. What a disgusting man he is. In order to win his life, he is ready to sacrifice the life of an innocent girl. But this dude is just screaming that he only has a few days left to live, so let the girl blame her bad luck for the fact that he got her. Meanwhile, our little ghost warns the main character not to go to that place. It is too dangerous, and there is a huge amount of negative energy. But Chenzuo simply throws the ghost away, and says that he will definitely find out what kind of nonsense is happening in this temple. Our hero decided that it would be much easier to climb over the fence, but the ghost realized that he was a complete idiot and never listened to him. With the help of the tiger, they finally managed to cross the fence and are now heading to the main building of this temple. That dude confidently says that this time, he will definitely be able to get his life back, and our main character asks his team to be quiet and let him listen. But when he tried to look through the window, he couldn't see anything. They sat down to play dominoes where the stakes were their own lives. Suddenly, the bald guy shouts out that he has won once again, and that dude begins to curse everything because he had such good chips. He wants to invite these signs to play another game, but now he has to give the bald guy 30 years. He fell completely into despair, and the ghost began to laugh at him because his face had completely changed. These crazy people continued the game, and forced him to place even larger bets so that he would be stressed and lose. Coming out of the temple, he was shaking with fear, because he had lost once again, and this time he would definitely come to an end. Our hero notices that the lights on his shoulders have become much smaller, but the ghost explains that gambling will never lead to a good result. Suddenly, a strange voice called Chen Zhuo and our ghost. The scary lady decided that it would be a good idea to invite our hero to play a game of dominoes with them. He gets up and says that it's a shame that he was discovered, how embarrassed he is that he snuck into their temple without an invitation. The ghost girl tried to dissuade the guy from playing with these freaks, but he said that he would just quickly take a look at what was going on there. The lady will ask the boy to sit down with them at the table and feel at home. Others boasted that today they were very lucky to win big. Suddenly, his foot stumbles over some strange contraption. This turns out to be the same girl that freak brought here and left for dead. The ghosts ask not to pay attention to her. Let him sit down and place a bet, no matter what he wants, money, health, or anything else. They can give him everything. But Chen Zhuo is more interested in what the guy who played with them before him put on. The lady comes up to him and says that idiot decided to put his own life together with the life of that girl. If suddenly our main character loses, then their lives will belong to them, but what will happen if he wins? But if he wins, he will be able to make his deepest wish, and the ghost will happily fulfill his whim. The ghost is trying to dissuade this idiot because gambling won't lead to anything good. It's better if they just finish off these ghosts and be done with it. Our hero asks a very strange question about the game of turtles, and all the ghosts sat down in complete shock. What does this strange guy mean? But our hero talks about a game called the Turtle Belt. This is the only game he can play and asks to bring cards. From an entire deck, you need to remove 1 joker and 3 eights, leaving 1 joker and 1 eight. After which the cards are dealt and everyone must draw a card from their neighbor. If a pair is made, it is thrown out. The one who has an 8 and a joker loses. Our hero is having a lot of fun, but it seems to him that they did not understand the rules of the game, but the ghosts said that they understood everything and were ready to start the game. But as soon as the cards were dealt, our guy got both an 8 and a joker. The ghost thought that Chenjo has absolutely no luck in card games. Apparently our little ghost will have to intervene again. The dude pulls out one of our heroes, but at the same time he uses X-ray vision and knows where which card is. The ghost intervenes again and stops the damn ghost from peeking at the cards. His hands rarely began to shake because his X-ray vision didn't work, but why are these the most ordinary cards? Our hero becomes bored and the ghost declares that while he is here, he will not allow these freaks to cheat. The dude had already started to draw another card when suddenly our ghost simply took and replaced this card with a joker. The guy is simply shocked because now he understands that our main character is not so simple. The players looked at each other and said that he could not look through the cards of this small kid, but they would come up with something. After 1 lap, the 8 also fell into the hands of this dude and he was clearly tense, but the bald guy says that they will definitely return it to him. Our hero is clearly happy and boasts that he will soon win his wish, and the ghost flies around with a happy face. Chenjo reaches out to pull out a card from the lady and thinks about which one he should choose. The girl made an obviously cunning face because more than one person had never managed to win the game. Our boy chose a card and was about to take it, but the girl's face became more and more cunning with every second. At first, our hero draws the joker, but the ghost, as always, comes to our aid. At the moment he replaces the cards between himself and our hero collects a pair of cards, he has won his wish. He stood up from the table screaming and said that it was a very difficult game, but his victory was fair. No one even understood what happened. The girl was left with a joker and an 8, which means she lost, but she couldn't understand that the cards were changed before her eyes, because she saw the boy drawing a joker. Suddenly, life energy begins to leave their bodies and they experience incredible pain from this. They decided that the guy came here specifically to fool them and sits here with a smug smile and laughs at them. But suddenly one of the candles goes out and the doors to the temple close. Now he won't get out of here. The ghost drove the guy into a corner, and at that moment he realized that his wish was not going to be fulfilled. There is no way out, and our ghost takes the form of a knight to protect our hero from these monsters. But apparently Jungjo absolutely still thinks that it was just a strong wind that slammed the doors. The guy just touches the doors, but suddenly Saitama's powers turn on and he just knocks them down. Laughing nervously, he says that these guys have very flimsy doors and that he didn't do it on purpose. But these guys are angry at the guy not because he broke the door, but because he cheated in card games. The ghost is surprised that these bad guys decided to activate their abilities, but he uses the call of an assistant. At the same second, 2 Pokemon appear, our faithful pet and a little girl. Now we will definitely show them who the daddy is. The enemies are clearly shocked that the number of rivals has increased sharply, and a huge cat has appeared in the middle of the room. But suddenly our main character hits the tiger on the nose and tells him that you can't growl at people like that, it's not cultural. The tiger ghost is clearly offended that his owner scolded him, and Chenjo asked the little girl to get a couple of sweets from his hiding place. But he quietly whispered to her to get the most tasteless ones and just a little, what a greedy person. The ghost team is still in shock. The last time they saw the ghost tiger on the bridge, he just attacked them, and now he looks like a pet. The boy hands these guys sweets as an apology and asks for forgiveness at the door, after which he offers to play one more time. Our main character looks clearly pleased because he is spending time in such a pleasant company at such a late hour. We can say that they are already good friends. The ghosts still don't understand what the hell is going on here, but they are simply terrified of the kid. It would be better to just do as he wants and wait for him to leave. Chenjo does the countdown and takes photos of his friends on his brand new iPhone. Meanwhile, at the police station, the captain was yawning after a very hard day at work. He understands that after all, a person cannot work tirelessly. It would be better if he passed this work on to young people. They will cope with it well. Scrolling through his Instagram feed, he comes across a very strange photo. Realizing that this photo showed our main character along with a bunch of scary ghosts, he even threw away his phone and put all his business aside. The police captain immediately decided to look up information about these ghosts in the police database. These three demons are demons of passion that make people sell their lives in an endless game. How Chen Zhuo managed to contact them at all. At the same second, the captain presses the red button and raises the alarm, after which he yells into the microphone for all the employees to get into their cars and go to the operation. Meanwhile, our main character was having a great time in the company of ghosts of criminals. He once again beat these losers. They understand that Chen Zhuo is cheating, but they can't understand how he already won that girl's life back. At this rate, he will take their lives too. It can't go on like this, and the evil ghosts have to come up with something. The short guy tells our hero to draw the card first. Our little ghost asks the hero to wait a little. Something is not clear here, but it was too late to warn. As soon as the boy touched the cards, some kind of green aura appeared and dragged him away. The boy is a little shocked and doesn't understand where they were transported, but the ghost explains that the ghost got angry and awakened the expansion of the territory. They are in their life memories. It is likely that these creatures are going to finish off our hero in their expansion of the territory, and the ghost asks the boy to quickly leave here. But he simply picked his nose and then heard strange sounds and paid attention to them. Our hero had already run away and the ghost had to follow him. This place is too dangerous for him to walk around so openly. Chen Zhuo came across some crowd who were shouting about some loser thief. He was so ugly that they did not understand whether he was a person. The poor boy was lying on the ground, completely beaten and crying. He said that he had not committed theft and that all the accusations were false. Suddenly, our main character turns on his fool mode and jumps above the crowd with terrible screams. He gets into an epic JoJo pose and asks the townspeople what the hell is going on here. Chen Zhuo simply takes out a deck of cards and begins to show various tricks. But the crowd clearly considered him to be another crazy person and decided to move away so as not to catch the infection. Our main character simply grabs the short guy by the hand and says that he wants to continue playing cards with him, so we need to get away from here. Our ghost thought that the guy became an evil ghost because people treated him terribly, but the hero just showed him the other side of the coin. The short man suddenly became sad because during his life, no one had ever stood up for him. He abruptly took his hand away from the main character, and Chen Zhuo doesn't understand what the hell he's doing. Shorty shows him the open portal and tells him to go into it and return to the real world where they will be waiting for him. The action moves to some kind of palace. The lady who wanted to beat our hero at cards sat near the table with tea and looked at the girl. She must have been performing for a very long time and her throat was dry. This lady started praising her incredible dance with a staff. Suddenly, the inspector burst into the room with his soldiers, and our ladies didn't understand what the hell they were doing here. But the inspector didn't even bother to investigate and just hit her in the face. How dare she steal people behind his back? While one of the girls was lying on the floor, the inspector decided to continue his series of blows and deal with the other lady. After this, he orders his guys to take the two into custody. Our main character also pretended to be one of the soldiers, but he was more worried about two questions. What the hell is going on here, and when will they play cards? It turns out that there was a man hiding under the mask. He was severely beaten by the police because he started dating the inspector's wife. But the girl simply didn't understand what the hell the inspector was talking about. But he thought that the lady decided to just pretend to be a fool, like she didn't understand anything, and kicked her. Even the police stopped beating that guy because they were shocked that the inspector hit his wife so that she flew several meters away. That guy covered the lady with his body and said that this freak doesn't dare touch the girl. He forcibly married her, and now he's doing a terrible thing. He's not afraid of the pathetic inspector. He began to calm the poor girl and looked angrily at the inspector with the intention of killing him. But the policeman simply laughed at this act, after which he took out his pistol and was about to finish off this loving couple. If these two love each other so much, then he will allow them to be together. Let these creatures go to hell together. The dude is really shocked that the situation has gone so far. He clearly did not expect that the inspector would decide to kill him. But suddenly our main character appears and, like a real warhead, crashes into the police inspector and prevents him from killing the lovers. From such a powerful blow, the ribs were broken and the inspector's face was twisted in pain, like in Mortal Kombat. Was our hero so impatient to play cards that he decided to take such a bold step, but he still bowed to his opponent as a sign of respect? It turns out that the inspector was bald all this time, and Chen Zhuo told this billiard ball to let go of his card partner. The inspector didn't understand what the hell this was and why the hell he allowed himself to do. Maybe he was tired of living. The main character has finished his countdown, and now this bald guy is clearly in trouble. He turned out to be a real coward and ordered his partners to grab this freak and kill him. The boy escaped as best he could from the clutches of these freaks and cursed him because they interrupted his card game, and the loving couple watched all this. Suddenly, the girl just started laughing loudly at this whole situation, and her boyfriend couldn't understand. Maybe the girl had gone crazy too. But for the first time in her short life, she had so much fun. She could never even think that someone could go against the police inspector. She was clearly inspired by the action of our main character, and now she realized that she was not going to live in a cage with this freak all her life, and asked the guy to escape with her. Inspiration was transferred to this guy, and he happily agrees to his beloved's proposal. But he begins to reach for his stick and says that first, he will need to deal with the inspector, because this is the only way the girl will gain freedom. Taking the spear in his hands, he proudly declares that from this day on, the girl will become his official wife, and now they will be together until death do them part. This guy is infused with the spirit of a real spearman, and he flies into the crowd of policemen and throws them from right and left. Our main character watches his movements and realizes that this dude is incredibly cool, and the ghost is just flying around with a smile. Suddenly, our ghost thought that they were in the memories of those ghosts, but the main character could die here, but at the same time, he changes their memories. The dude gets into an epic pose and says that if a person doesn't like the fate that is given to him, then he should just spread his wings and fly to the ends of the world. After which he decides to change his fate and throws a spear at the inspector to end the life of this creature. But suddenly one of the assistant inspectors appears and says that only today he will die here, after which he is going to cut off his head. He uses Tanjiro's demon slashing blade move and uses it to cut the head off the guy's shoulders. From the look of our hero, one can clearly understand that he did not expect such an end to the battle. Seeing her lover's head fall to the ground, the girl began screaming like crazy. Suddenly the location changes dramatically, and we are shown that Chenjuo and the girl were tied to the fire. Our main character fell asleep and just woke up. The lady decided to ask our boy for forgiveness as a farewell. Her lover died in battle, and now she doesn't have much time left, and she also dragged our hero into this. At one point, the girl lost all her motivation and still admitted that they would never defeat fate. Our ghost also says that unfortunately they were not able to change the ending, but our hero watches the birds fly in the sky. A whole crowd had already gathered who wanted the girl to be burned at the stake as soon as possible. How could she betray such a good person as the inspector? One of the crowd says that we need to end all this already, and throws the torch directly into the fire. Our hero clearly does not like this kind of global warming. At one point he makes the face of a real Sigma, and says that all these freaks are already sick of him. With one sharp movement, he breaks all the ropes and yells that he still hasn't finished playing cards with his ghost friends. Our ghost is clearly not happy that this idiot is still thinking about that damn card game. He begins to give a motivational speech that this couple in love is not guilty of anything. From these words, the girl begins to cry. The ghost pumps up the physical capabilities of our hero, and makes it so that he can lift the table to which they were tied. Chenjo declares that these damn townspeople are to blame for everything, and begins to wave his huge torch. He tries with all his might to protect the girl from the crowd, but she just sits and doesn't understand what kind of superhuman strength this guy has. Our hero decided to punish the entire city and burn their houses to the ground. They rather carried water to save at least part of the city. Like a real tough guy, he doesn't look at the howls and simply leaves the city because the ghostly space will soon disappear. Finally, the souls of ghosts would be free, if only someone like Chen had appeared then. Why wouldn't their hearts be filled with hatred? But our hero tells them goodbye, that if someone insults them, they just need to hit back. It's so simple, and the ghosts agree with our guy with a smile. But he knows only one thing for sure: these people were not crazy. This whole world is crazy and makes people the same. After these words, our hero leaves the ghosts. The action is again transferred to the place where they played card games. Our hero said that he had already stopped stalling, and the ghost should quickly draw the card. But he says that he suddenly lost all interest in card games. Winning or losing no longer matters to him. But suddenly our main character grabs him and asks him to repeat the terrible words he said. He just starts yelling at the short fat guy and says that this dude just started losing, and that's why he decided to give up. But he would never do that, after which our hero throws him onto the table and says in such cases to continue the game. Everyone was shocked. Chenjo shows them the map and says that with it, victory will be his, so they can already begin to applaud his victory. All the ghost could do was sit and watch as this already crazy man continued to go crazy. The girl's nerves could no longer stand it. Could it be that our main character saved them only to beat them at cards and take away all their energy? After all, they would die. A huge number of police officers had gathered at the entrance to the building and were awaiting an order from their boss. But there was no need to wait to begin the assault. They all run into the house and the boss shouts for Chenjo was not worried because reinforcements had already arrived to help. But in an instant, the expressions on their serious faces changed to a complete lack of understanding of the situation. Our main character sat quietly with his friends and ghosts and played card games. Hearing sounds behind him, his gaze suddenly switched to his boss. Chenjo sits down in the pose of a real mafia boss. He was about to call the boss, but since he himself came, would he like to play a game of cards? Hearing all these words, the police were shocked and did not know how to respond. Suddenly, the ghosts behind the guy realized that strangers had sneaked into the territory. All three attacked them, and the guy with blue hair asked the boss to be careful. But it turns out they were not going to attack them, and at one moment, all three fell to their knees in front of him. They began to cry and beg the police to arrest them. If they continue to play with this guy, he will simply take away all their life energy. The guy with blue hair shows the sensors and says that the power level of these ghosts has become too weak, although they should be half demons. What does this all mean? But the girl in tears points to our main character and says that it is all his fault. They played cards with him and lost all their strength to him. But Chenjo simply smiles and says that it's not his fault. They themselves lost their powers to him at cards. The boss no longer understands anything at all, but suddenly he notices the man's girlfriend and wonders where she came from. The guy with blue hair says that this girl from a very important family filed a missing person report today, but the boss is just glad that they closed another case so easily. These two cunning freaks look at each other and think that our main character is simply incredible because he did all the work for them. The boss says that it's already late and it's time to go home, and these three ghosts thank him for saving them and swear that they won't harm people and will become good ghosts. Suddenly it started to rain. Our main character went outside and said that it was time to go home and walked straight into the rain. The captain offers to give the guy a ride in his car, but he refuses and says that this black box is too slow. Suddenly, a guy with blue hair says that the girl has upgraded to the average level of half-demon, and the tiger is generally at the last stage. It is impossible to believe that they have become stronger. Standing in the rain, they simply could not understand what was going on with Chen. In Zhuo's head, how does he manage to do all this and still remain abnormal? Our main character apparently had already caught a cold and started sneezing. He asked his personal cat to fly much faster. Morning came and the action moved to the hospital where our guy was clearly not in the best shape. Turning his head, he saw a man with a huge syringe and he clearly felt uneasy about this. Our hero suddenly feels better and he jumps out of bed. In this battle, only one will remain alive and he goes on the attack. He dodges all of this guy's attacks throughout the chamber with the speed of the flash. Chenjo realizes that things are bad, and the nurses run into his room because they heard a terrible roar. Our main character says that they arrived just in time. Together they can defeat this freak who attacked him from behind. He swears that he himself will give him an injection in the most painful place, but it turns out to be our hero's attending physician named Ayuan. The nurses also do JoJo poses and vow to help our hero defeat this bad guy. But suddenly these four ladies grab our hero and hold him so that he cannot move while the doctor gives him an injection. Our hero cursed everyone in this room, and the doctor really looked like he was going to do something terrible. A terrible scream was heard throughout the hospital, and our little ghost was happy that our hero also got a little of what he deserved. Wu Xinzhuo began to feel depressed, and the head doctor was monitoring him, and they told him on the phone that last night he ran away from the hospital. It's strange that they only said this now. The attending physician said that yesterday he got caught in the rain. Do they even understand how difficult it is to give this guy an injection? The head doctor continued the conversation, and just don't talk to him. He doesn't care about the fact that a half-demon attacked the city. The chief of police wants to come and talk, but the doctor does not want to listen to all this. Police are not welcome in this mental hospital. Our hero sat down on a bench and cried. He knew that he shouldn't trust people in white coats. They are all accomplices of evil forces. Suddenly, a girl appears behind him and asks, "What is our hero doing here?" The guy's face immediately changed because the package contained his favorite food. The girl said that he must eat everything because she had prepared it all herself. The guy ate the food the girl made with admiration and said that he had never eaten anything tastier. But the lady wanted to thank our hero because he saved her from a fatal disease. She doesn't even know how to say "Chen, thank you, Zhuo," but he says that he doesn't need anything. They have become real friends. It turns out that the girl read our hero's personal file. Since childhood, he had a mental disorder and his parents abandoned him. She wants to become a support for him. Just the girl wanted to say that she wanted to become a family for our hero, when suddenly some female voice called him. It was the same girl with red hair that Chen Zhuo saved me from ghosts yesterday. The girl simply could not help but thank him personally, and therefore came to see him at the hospital. But Chen Zhuo clearly remembered her differently, and our ghost says that the similarity is 99% mistaken. It cannot be one and the same person. The boy expected the girl to thank her with some kind of gift, but her hands were completely empty. He made a dissatisfied face that even the girl sitting next to him was shocked by such audacity. The next chapter begins with the police chief arriving at the hospital and begging the guard to let him in, saying that he had been here several times before. But the security was clearly against letting him into the hospital territory. The chief doctor himself gave the order that the captain would no longer set foot here. He began to curse this damn chief doctor, and Mr. Beeston, who was standing behind him, simply laughed at the absurdity of the policeman. But suddenly he saw Dr. Lee himself walking past the gate and asked him for the security to let him in. He urgently needed to talk to our main character. But the chief doctor cannot release him if he is not registered. Then the policeman hands him a piece of paper with permission. But suddenly the chief doctor makes a Sigma face and says that he is not going to let him in if the document does not have his seal. At this moment, the police captain was significantly shocked that the chief doctor had become so strict. With regret, he informs him that until the police receive his seal, entry into the territory of the psychiatric hospital is closed to him. Suddenly, Mr. Beast comes up to him from behind and says that the head doctor is deliberately putting him in a no-start situation. The captain asks him to give him permission now, but he just shakes his head and says that unfortunately he didn't take it with him today, maybe some other time. In such a hopeless situation, the captain decides to ask the chief doctor for forgiveness because they really brought a lot of problems, but he still says that they are not welcome here. But suddenly he grabs it and points to Mr. Beast. He is the richest man in the city and has come to thank our protagonist for saving his daughter last night. But why didn't the policeman tell him about this earlier? Chenjuo has always been like his own son to him, and of course he will let this rich gentleman into the hospital grounds. Dr. Lee happily shows the hospital and thanks this Mr. Beast for coming to them, and the police captain is just angry with him. Meanwhile, our main character and his girlfriends were sitting on a bench and spitting bones at the girl. A ghost was flying nearby and laughing at this. As soon as the captain saw the boy, he immediately called him, but what the hell is going on here and why are they spitting chicken bones at the girl? He was also glad to see his employee and that she had recovered, but she said that it was all thanks to our hero. He really has divine power. Dad wanted to ask his daughter if she said Chenjuo, thank you for saving her. But she began to sob and complain that he simply spat bones from the chicken that she had cooked at her. The chief doctor wanted to let our boy go for what he did, but the main character simply took a fighting stance and said that he would not accept gratitude from the man in the white coat. At that same second, Saitama's fist flies at the doctor and will finish him off. The girl took Chenjuo away from the others to calm him down. The chief doctor is very ashamed of his behavior, but the police chief offers his help. He approaches the boy and calls him the call sign of an interplanetary warrior to gain confidence. What happened to him? But the main character simply began to complain that the girl came to him empty-handed. Is this gratitude? So the girl from the police brought him a lot of delicious food. Suddenly, Mr. Beast comes up to him and personally thanks him for saving him. Unfortunately, they were in such a hurry that they did not have time to prepare a gift for him. In return, he offers to write a check for this kid for the amount he wants, and then they will be even. How does our hero look at such an offer? In the guy's imagination, it all looked like a real mafia boss had come to him and wanted to give him a huge amount of money for saving his daughter. Suddenly, the boy jumps up and yells that he will gladly accept the check. The head doctor could not understand why Chenjuo trusts these people so much. Our hero was given a check and told that he should fill it out as he wanted, and that this amount would be given to him in gratitude. But suddenly, in the fantasy of our main character, an unrealistic amount of money appears that goes beyond the usual framework of calculations and mathematics. There is not so much money even in the whole world. Chenjuo is a little shocked by the figure he came up with and asks Mr. Beast if this is normal, but he says that everything will be fine. Everyone watched carefully as our hero wrote 1 0 after another, and Mr. Beast realized what an idiot he had gotten involved with. He shows a check with a bunch of numbers written on it, approximately several $billion. Looking at all this, he had an unreal shock. How did he even come up with such an idea as to let a mentally ill boy write a check for any amount? Mr. Beast decides to talk to the head doctor alone because he won't be able to pay that much, but he says that everything is fine, and we need to leave everything as it is. The police captain asks the rich guy not to worry and leave this case to him, but the head doctor starts yelling at him and asks him not to meddle in other people's business. The policeman tells our hero that he chose a great gift, but it is better to choose something more real. For example, food or clothes, but not a check. For our hero, the check will turn out to be an ordinary piece of paper. It's better for him to choose something real, or something he's been dreaming about for a long time. Chenjuo imagines a girl in a wedding dress and thinks it would be nice to marry her. Our ghost praises our hero's strange ideas. Our main character wipes his nose and thanks the policeman for showing the true essence of his desire. He is truly his faithful comrade in arms. Suddenly, the main character confidently declares that he wants to get the black box on wheels that he saw on TV. Mr. Beast is a little surprised that he can drive, but the head doctor asks him not to be a fool. Of course he doesn't know how. He doesn't even have a license. The police captain asks him to think again, but our hero has clearly already made a decision. A black box on wheels will help them complete various missions. Mr. Beast, of course, is not against giving our hero a car, but first the captain and chief physician Lee must agree among themselves. The chief doctor thought that if he let a sick child drive, he would be fired, and the policeman thought that if he refused him, their friendship would end. Suddenly, Chenjo approaches his partner and asks why he doesn't agree. Did he really betray the planet and his partner? He states that he does not have his own opinion on this matter. Initially, Dr. Lee was in charge of a small kid, so let him decide what to do next. Our main character was clearly angry with the doctor for preventing them from buying a car. It was not for nothing that he had not trusted people in white coats all his life. Chief Dr. Lee has no other choice, or the boy will now destroy him with his power, but he offers to hire a personal driver for our hero. At first, the boy didn't like this idea, because he is a noble space warrior who can drive himself. But the police captain reassured him, such a person should definitely have a driver. Suddenly, the lady raises her hand and offers her vacancy as a driver. She can become a good partner for our hero. The captain is surprised that he didn't think of this idea himself. If the girl becomes his driver, then he will have a direct connection between the police and the hospital. Chenjo is clearly happy about this idea, but our little ghost warns the main character not to become so calm when he sees a beautiful girl. With a true Sigma smile, he sat down on the bench. Suddenly, the guy comes up with a simply brilliant idea to make this lady his student, so that she can learn many new skills. The girl did not understand what the main character meant. The captain tried to explain to her, but everyone was still in shock, especially Mr. Beast. The girl bowed and recognized the boy as her first teacher. Our ghost burst into tears with such joy. After all, Chen had just Zhuo's first student appeared. The boy decided that since he had a student, he should give her a gift. The ghost also decided to look for something suitable. Our hero decided to give her a special bell. It is capable of dispelling ghosts depending on the strength of the owner, something that will be useful for a novice hunter. The police captain admired such a gift and thought that with its help, ghosts of a special rank would never be able to touch them. Chenjo takes the bell from him and says that this is a gift for the girl and not for him. Then the police captain also wants to become his student. If you take such a talisman carelessly, the situation may turn badly against the owner, so no one else will receive it. Then Mr. Beast decided to gain confidence and decided not to delay buying a car and go to the dealership right now. But first of all, you need to ask permission from the police officer and chief medical officer Lee. The faces of both rarely changed, and looking at each other, they both said that they had no objections. The joy of our main character knew no bounds. Finally, a real space warrior will have his own car. Some time passed and our heroes were walking around the city. Chenjo managed to transform a little. The police captain bought him these clothes. Our hero brags to the girls that this is the best suit for space battles, but it seems it only costs 49 N. Beast's daughter says that he can choose any car he likes in the showroom, and he says that he will choose the most powerful black box. The girl decided to take his arm, and the police officer was a little shocked by such impudence. The rich lady continued to clog the guy's brain with rich cars, and the captain and the girl could not believe what was happening. The captain said that the girl should continue to communicate with the guy and become a close person to him, so she will help the department. But she herself wants this. This daughter of Mr. Beast still can't get away from the guy, so what kind of car does our hero like? Maybe something very powerful. Our main character clearly does not understand cars and decides to trust the locals. They are clearly aware of the local black boxes. The kid couldn't come up with anything better than just coming up with an unknown make of car and pretending to understand it. Suddenly, a police girl comes up to them and yells that she also likes this non-existent car brand. The main character immediately praised her for her knowledge of cars. It was not for nothing that he chose her as a student. Mr. Beast's daughter did not understand what was happening, and the captain was glad that the plan worked. The ghost is clearly tired of this whole circus and decides to be quiet with his thoughts. The captain says he will definitely send Chenjo as back at the hospital before it gets dark, but he clearly doesn't trust this guy. The chief doctor can only breathe and hope that everything will end well. Suddenly, two guys come up and ask the guy about the psychiatric hospital. "Come and find trouble, don't such loud words catch the eye more than me?" This was the question the chief doctor asked. It turns out that these guys have heard well that the local guy Chenjo is good at drawing talismans and would like to talk to him personally. The head doctor is already worried that our main character has become so popular. Now he is not in the hospital and he cannot help. But these two got angry and started asking a lot of questions. When will our main character return and can they contact him? The head doctor clearly doesn't like that these idiots call him uncle. Does he really look that old at 38 years old? Out of anger, he is going to lose them because this is a hospital and not a place where talismans are distributed, but they still ask for help. But if these two want to ask for a talisman and continue to call him uncle, then they will not receive any talismans. A black car pulled up to the car dealership, and all the staff gathered at the door to greet them. Mr. Beast comes out like a real mafia boss and orders them to throw the best reception possible for this guest. While our hero is being carried in his arms, the rich dude offers the captain dinner. He has just booked a hotel room with an excellent restaurant. Our hero is currently shown various brands of cars and told to choose for himself, but he has absolutely no sense in this. Chenjo sat in the car like a Hollywood star and asked how he looked in the cabin. The red color clearly suited his temperament. Having sat down on a gray Tesla for $888 million, the store employees began to praise our hero and say that this car is even better. The price had already reached the cars for $999 million, and the workers really wanted to sell them the most expensive car that was in the showroom. The girl even lost consciousness because she was anticipating the huge amount of money she would receive for the sale. Even her soul left her body with joy. But suddenly our hero's eyes were caught by a small white car, and at that very second he fell in love with it. The workers were clearly shocked by this turn. Mr. Beast decided that this car was too cheap, and he could look for something more expensive for himself. But suddenly the boy threw a terrible tantrum and said that he would not accept another car. Then Mr. Beast ordered to quickly sell this car and leave here. Our hero was clearly happy that he finally had a black box, and the store employees were escorting them and their money. The girl was clearly angry that today this guy ruined her successful sale. From that day on, he will become her main enemy. The girl noticed that our main character was very angry, and he told her that this black box was going too slow. Why is everyone else driving ahead? But their car, unfortunately, is not as fast as theirs. Then the ghost starts laughing at this idiot for choosing this trash. Then Chenjo tells the girl to drive as hard as she can, and our hero will take care of the rest. The ghost announces the start of the race. In another car, Mr. Beast was talking with the police captain about the boy. He really wants to become close to him. How can he do this? He says that 4 people died at his construction site, and evil spirits are clearly involved. Only Chenjo will be able to help him. The captain says that our main character is completely independent and can make his own decisions. For a long time, they could not finish their conversation about the main character, but suddenly the girl asks them to look at the other side of the road. Turning around above their heads, question marks appeared in surprise. Our main character looked out the window and smiled because they managed to catch up with the end. The actions of the next chapter begin with our main character walking through an abandoned factory that belongs to Mr. Beast. The desktop team members walked behind and were shaking with fear, although this plant has not been operating for a long time. But even now, strange voices can be heard here. Suddenly, our hero's legs began to glow purple. The ghost asked him to wait a little because it looked like a formation. Something was wrong here. He needed to go up and take a better look. Our hero, as always, is indifferent to the situation, but all the other guys are tense from the terrible stories that Mr. Beast tells. The ghost is wondering if there is a planetary signal receiver in this building, and if our hero has already summoned his tiger to climb up. Everyone else was left standing in fear because their strongest warrior had left them. They hid behind the chief of police, and he tried to calm him down because if Chenjo didn't find anything strange, so there's no need to be afraid. He flew to the highest floor and the ghost declared that this place was truly the most abnormal. They noticed an eye that stuck out of the ground. It attracts and feeds evil spirits. It is not surprising that misfortunes began to happen so often. Suddenly, our ghost and tiger were frightened by a terrible cry for help from our main character. Chenjo simply decided to pick his nose, and the ghost was shocked that he was so indifferent to his comrades. But suddenly he heard the scream of the policeman's girlfriend, and suddenly came to his senses. He would not allow his beloved student to get into trouble. Like a real acrobat, he simply jumped off the roof, but our ghost reminded him that without a tiger, he does not have the ability to fly. Meanwhile, the 3 stood in fear of one of Mr. Beast's employees who was rumored to have been hit with a sledgehammer and killed. Yes, he was indeed the first worker to die at this construction site. When he tried to lift a sledgehammer, it broke and fell on him. This dude really looked like a living zombie from the TV series The Walking Dead. Apparently, the sledgehammer severely damaged his face. Mr. Beast cries and says that this guy was crushed to death, but the girl says that this is not the only problem to worry about. Oh my god. This is a guy called the Old Horse. He was called that because he worked for this company for over 10 years. Mr. Beast was already terrified because this was the second worker who died here. He slipped and broke all his legs. There were more and more dead workers, and Mr. Beast knew each of these guys personally. He simply could not believe that he was seeing them again. The girl also felt uneasy about these guys. What the hell was going on here and why the testers weren't answering them? The police chief decided to turn on the tough guy and ordered everyone to calm down. He took out his gun and told everyone to look for our hero. Suddenly, a cloud of smoke appeared in front of them, and our main character flew in with a terrible sound. Such a soft landing made the guy dizzy, but his partners were glad that he had finally come to them. He gets into an epic pose from the anime JoJo and tells his favorite student not to worry because her teacher is already here. The evil spirits obviously didn't like this, and they attacked our hero. Our ghost realized that these were not ordinary spirits but a whole kingdom of spirits. One of the ghosts decided to take advantage of the situation and the anger of the dead workers to resurrect them and use them to his advantage. But there is one question: why these spirits cannot touch our main character? Is the master really that strong? Meanwhile, Chenjo put together some strange ninja seals that helped him in the fight against evil spirits. It seems that our little ghost liked that our main character coped so easily. The rest of the guys were shocked and couldn't understand what the kid was going to do next. Suddenly, our hero says that he made the most ideal decision to calm down Mr. Beast, but the police chief still did not understand what he did. The girl realized that these are not real ghosts. This place simply reproduces their most important guards, but this also means that there is a stronger ghost in this place. At first, the captain wanted to laugh at this theory, but suddenly, in the distance, some creature made a very scary sound. Our hero immediately ordered the little demon girl to grab this evil spirit. At that same second, she appeared in front of her and struck her with her red aura. Our ghost tells us that this is not the ghost who embodies fears. This is just a victim who died and now wanders around this plant without purpose. The police captain asks that the ghost not move while he checks her power level, but she seems to be at the weakest level. But suddenly she just broke out of the demon girl's shackles and decided to attack our main character. She started to choke Chenjo and he couldn't do anything about it. Was she really not that weak after all? But at one point our hero began to tickle her, and she had no choice but to start neighing like a horse and let the guy go. The girl quickly came to her senses and could not believe that she was defeated with the help of tickling. Once she had already warned them to better leave here. She clearly tried to look intimidating, but she did it poorly and made our heroes feel only shame. They looked at each other and thought that the lady was just making a bad joke. But suddenly she screamed and said that she was not joking. They should quickly get out of here because he would wake up soon. Our ghost says that there is a huge ghost sealed in that huge eye and this girl can feel it, but who should wake up? She started to get hysterical because she couldn't tell them about him. In the end, everyone who was here would simply die. Something was watching our heroes and our ghost warned that Chenjo was careful because real evil would soon awaken. Suddenly, the girl's body began to disappear because the anger of that terrible ghost began to appear. She warns our heroes that they will have to sacrifice a person or die. Suddenly, the policeman realized that in this place, one ghost really controls everything, and he began to look at Mr. Beast with a strange look. He thought that they wanted to sacrifice him, but suddenly everyone started running away from this plant and decided to leave this matter to more experienced police officers. The girl turned towards our main character to call him along with them, but he already went into battle like a real ninja. The police captain finally realized that his best employee had just jumped out the window into the clutches of a terrible ghost. They were clearly shocked by this damn ninja who didn't even consult his team. Our guy has always had enough heroism, but he can't cope without the help of a ghost, so he begins to create a spell called the Buddha's Palm. Suddenly, a huge beam shoots out from his hand and pierces the ground in a large radius. Other team members came out to stop Chenjo. It's really dangerous here, but what they saw really surprised them. The captain saw a huge hole that our main character left in the ground and could not believe that this little boy was a person. And here he is, standing with a satisfied face and waiting for his friends to find him so they can show off their strength. The girl was very worried about him, but he was just sneezing because of the dust that rose after the impact. The police captain noticed that there was something strange in the hole. It turns out that there were a huge number of coffins on the territory of the plant, but Mr. Beast knew nothing about them when he bought the plant. They helped our hero get out of the hole, thinking that everything was already over and the eye was defeated. But it seems that everything is not so simple. The lady tells our hero that after a huge amount of cursed energy awakened, many ghosts began to appear around the planet. At the same time, groups of cultivators appeared who committed terrible crimes. The most dangerous of all these groups is the demon group. The sacrificial eye is an ancient magic circle that was discovered by the demon cult, with the help of which they summoned a bunch of evil spirits. The last such eye was discovered a year ago in a small star city, but even though it was defeated then, it claimed the lives of 200,000 people. Our hero was clearly tense from such a frightening story from the girl. Things were really bad. In such cases, Chenjo decides to go and destroy everything in these coffins, but the other heroes try to stop him. The police captain is angry because our boy doesn't even understand what dangerous place he's going to. Out of his own weakness, he decides to call the department that suppresses souls. He gives the order to the girl to call for reinforcements, while he goes to the main character on his own so that nothing happens to him. The ghost lady has been watching our guys all this time and believes that they are all dead. Our hero is already going to find all the bad guys, but the police captain is trying to stop him because the enemy is too strong for them. But the guy simply looks at the sky and says that the inhabitants of the planet should not give up. If they do not cope with this task, then no one will be able to. The captain was clearly counting on a different answer. Chenjo does another JoJo pose and kicks the coffin to tell the bad guys to come out of hiding. The captain realized that it was better not to disturb the souls of his ancestors, and this would not end well. Suddenly, a strange, ominous aura began to appear from the coffin, and our hero was surprised. This aura began to penetrate our hero's nose, but our ghost warns that this is corpse gas, it stinks terribly, and if you want to live, it's better not to breathe it. The boy is clearly shocked by such a successful stench, and he is interested to see what stinks so strongly in this coffin. While our main character is trying to come to his senses, the ghost felt a strange aura, as if something was approaching them. And indeed, at that very second, our hero is thrown back from the coffins by a terrible aura. All the coffin lids were open, and a terrible smell and aura spread throughout the entire plant. Meanwhile, the lady tried to call the soul containment department, but suddenly Mr. Beast noticed a strange cloud of smoke and wanted to warn her. Seeing a huge column of darkness, the girl realized that it was all over, and that this was where their police carter would end. The police captain tried to find our hero in this cloud of smoke, but he was unable to do so due to the terrible smell. Suddenly, he found something interesting, and thought that it was a cave demon who was not dangerous. But realizing that he had found his face change dramatically, and his complexion became white. Our hero still continued to look for the bad guy, but our ghost could not understand why he was so eager to fight, and they didn't even know the level of his power. Suddenly, some strange hand grabbed our hero by the shoulder, and they turned around to see who it was. A huge ghost in samurai armor decided to attack our heroes. The ghost examined it carefully and realized that this creature had been resting here for several thousand years, but it seems that during his lifetime, he was still a sergeant. At one moment, this huge scarecrow opens its mouth and is about to devour the boy. But our hero is not so simple, and with the help of his ghost, he creates a spell called the Demon Pacifying Fist and pierces his stomach. Realizing that this ghost was too weak, he laughed at him and went to look for his real opponent. Our boy remembered that the huge box in the middle was not open, and most likely the bad guys were hiding there. Bai Chenjo tried to find his way in all this fog. Our captain fought with the ghost, but the soul was almost sucked out of him. Our little ghost tells him to immediately save the policeman, because his essence was stolen and his soul almost left his body. With one sharp blow, our hero throws out this ghost and saves the policeman, a real fighter from Mortal Kombat. For some time, the police officer will be unconscious, and our hero wants to take him and leave here, but our ghost notices something. Finally, our hero found that same big box, but our ghost is trying to leave it because he feels that just terrible energy is coming from there. But it seems that Chenjo doesn't listen to the ghost at all because something much more interesting attracted his attention. Suddenly, a huge skeleton of a samurai appears from the coffin, and our ghost crosses his arms because he warned him that it would be dangerous. The ghost says to Chenjo didn't act like a hero once again, because these sergeants are very bloodthirsty, and here the guy who came out of the coffin is much more dangerous. When the huge skeleton came out of the coffin, the ghost became scared, but our main character still continued to smile. Ki aura for several thousand years. This ghost is at the 4th stage, much stronger than all the other ghosts, and by showing his finger, he orders his sergeants to grab the hero. Gradually, the police captain wakes up and tries to call our main character. Chenjo awkwardly looks at the captain and says that he woke up just in time, because the situation took a very sharp turn. Without even thinking for a second, he throws out the policeman and says that now they will fight together as partners. The captain becomes a real throwing weapon and crashes straight into one of the sergeants, knocking him down. He gets a terrible headache and falls to the ground, but our protagonist's plan worked and there is one less sergeant. After he came to his senses a little, he remembers that our hero easily killed the sergeants and tries to call him. But suddenly a whole crowd of resurrected warriors pounces on him and is going to take his soul for themselves. Meanwhile, the ghost in Chenjo stands aside and watches a very funny picture of the captain running away from an army of revived warriors. Our hero was clearly inspired because he had never fought shoulder to shoulder with his comrades in arms. The only chance to defeat the general was right now. Chenjo uses the ghost to accumulate chi energy in his fist and tells the general to take a small bite of his power. Our ghost clearly does not like the name that our hero came up with for such a strong attack, but now this is not the main thing. We need to defeat this creature. But suddenly he turns off his abilities because a very strange object has attracted his attention. This idiot liked the general's sword so much that he began to beg for it to be given to him, despite the fact that he was just about to finish them off. The boy was able to take the sword from the general and ran happily with his trophy, but our ghost ordered this idiot to finally deliver the decisive blow. It's simply impossible to believe because this sword was with the general for a long time. How did he take it away so easily? But what our hero likes rightfully belongs to him. Suddenly, our hero makes a Sigma face and says that this dude is not a general, and he is not worthy of this sword. But the ghost did not understand what he meant. Suddenly, the ghost screamed and created a dark aura around itself that began to destroy everything around it. All the sergeants and our heroes were also scattered, but Chen Zhuo held on only to the sword that he was afraid of losing. Mr. Beast and the girls were still waiting for help, but they were also affected by the dark fog. They were worried about the main character and the police captain. But this was only the beginning, because this fog turned into a blade of darkness that cut all the buildings in the area. The ghost lady was still watching all this, but this time she felt fear in his attacks. Maybe now she can somehow help them. The general was chasing the kid to get his sword back, but he definitely wasn't going to give such a cool weapon into the clutches of this freak. Looking at this terrible creature, he swore that he would cut off his face with his own weapon. But when he wanted to hit, his attack was simply reflected by a dark aura, and our hero was thrown aside. The sergeants surrounded the police captain and laughed at how their general was beating the little kid. The policemen could only beg for salvation. But suddenly the reaction to the fight changed dramatically, and they no longer knew whether their general could defeat our hero. Meanwhile, he jumped on his back and tried to tear off his cloak because he was just a fake of a real general. The ghost thought that this guy was really crazy. But at one moment, everything around our heroes began to glow with a bright light. Did they really come to their aid? The captain immediately ran to the main character to say that now they would become participants in the battle of two great ghosts. Many knights on horses appeared from the fog and headed towards the general to take revenge on him. The captain tells Chen Zhuo was running away because it was clearly not safe here, but he didn't even move and stopped the captain. But because of this, the captain almost gets hit with a spear, but he manages to dodge. The two troops begin to fight each other, killing one warrior after another.